I wanted to touch on volume because that's one hot topic that is talked about quite often. How much volume we should be doing, and of course, I can't generalize and answer that for everybody that's listening to this right now. But I could kind of give you my own personal experience as far as what my volume's been like the last couple of months and how it's affected me this past week. Last week, everything was going really well. I think I even mentioned in my last vlog how training was going super well. But yeah, Saturday morning, that was everything changed. Just felt extremely terrible. All day Saturday, I was like really tired, really grumpy. Lower back was tight and stiff. My glutes were stiff, tight, and just in general, just feeling really shitty. And, now that I'm looking in hindsight, and, because I do keep track of my weekly volume of my training, and over the last couple months, it's definitely kind of been on the rise. And, even though I felt like I was performing and recovering well, it kind of snuck up on me and it hit me like a brick wall. So for me personally, looking over the past 8 weeks of data in regards to the amount of volume I'm doing, I could definitely, take a step back and look at it and go, okay, wow, okay, the volume is it's actually crept up quite a bit, and it's totally understandable why, I kind of hit a brick wall. For me, anyways, how I kind of think of volume is that I'm not one of those guys who's just going to be doing a bunch of volume just for the sake of doing more. I think that's what a lot of people end up doing is they do a shit ton of exercises, they do a shit ton of sets, and it ends up turning into a marathon as far as their workouts because they're thinking that if they do more and more and more that they're going to improve more, so like they're going to make faster gains or more progress. And the thing for me is that I don't want to just do volume for the sake of doing volume. I want my volume to be quality volume, and I don't think that's the same. I think quality volume is definitely not equal to just volume. So for me, that means I want to ensure that the amount of work that I'm doing in any given session is 100% focused. There's intent with every single rep, every single set. Like I don't want to have so much work in a given workout where, let's say, halfway through, 3/4 through the workout, I'm starting to purposely hold back because I'm like, okay, if I keep at this pace, this good, good intense pace, I'm gonna end up just the last few sets, I'm gonna end up just kind of like half-assing them because I'm getting more gas and fatigued, and then the quality of my workouts suffering. Maybe my exercise form starts to break down because there's just too much fatigue going in. So for me personally, I want to make sure that the work I'm doing is of high quality. There's good intent on being able to have good intensity. So for me, it means usually, I'm going to keep my sets anywhere between 3 and 4. Usually when I go over 4, that's when I'm finding myself like, okay, I'm just holding back a little too much here, or my form is starting to break down. So I want to ensure that my performance is going well, that my exercise form is on point. And I also, you want to look at the fact that the recovery as well. So if I'm racking up just a shit ton of volume, there's going to be an accumulation of fatigue. And then there's also, you have to factor in that you're putting more and more pounding on your joints, and then that's where aches and pains can kind of creep in. So for me, again, it's more about the quality volume versus just a shit ton of volume just for the sake of doing a shit ton of volume. So for me, it's like I like to think of it as driving your car on down the freeway. Do you want to, let's say you have a six speed transmission. Are you going to drive that car in the fifth gear and have the RPM set hella high? Yeah, maybe you got more torque. You could accelerate harder. You could accelerate faster. But because you're redlining that engine a little bit more, that means maybe that engine's not going to go as long. Maybe it's gonna break down much sooner. And also the fact that if you're driving, let's say in fifth gear versus sixth gear, then obviously if the RPMs are higher, your gas mileage isn't going to be as good. To me, it's like, okay, let me just do enough volume, quality volume, and let me make sure that I'm driving this car in sixth gear on the highway so I can get, more life and more distance, and it's going to be less hard on the motor. So that's kind of my mentality. But going back to again to the last 8 weeks, the like weeks 1 through 4, the volume was 42,000 up to close to 51,000 in those first 4 weeks. I was running a 3-day split to kind of nurse that lower back to get more recovery for my lower back. That was working well because I was performing well. In each of those 4 weeks, I saw a gradual increase in volume because of the load increases. So, and I was recovering well because I had 4 days off. So things were going really well. So I was kind of driving that car, down the freeway pretty nicely, pretty casually, picking up speed slowly but surely, getting good gas mileage and not really putting extra burden on that motor so I can get more life out of it. And then in week 5, because I was feeling much better coming off that lower back strain, I'm like, okay, let me go back to a 4-day split so I can get more volume. And it went from all the way up to like 70,000 pounds in week 5. So you could say I put my foot on the gas pedal that week pretty well. And then in the 6th week, I kind of felt the effects of week 5. So I had a deload week. So again, I kind of pulled the car off the freeway to get some more gas and to get a tune up and things like that. And then in week 7, we kind of got ourselves back on the freeway and accelerating pretty hard. And that's where I kind of increased my calories by 350 because I knew that, my lifts weren't where they were supposed to be in regards to coming off that lower back strain. My legs weren't where I wanted them to be. So I'm like, okay, I need to get my squats and deadlifts up. In order to do that effectively, let's go ahead and boost the calories up, get out of the deficit. So that's basically what I did. And I increased the volume, increased the food. And then again in week 8, it was more of the same, close to the same volume. And I felt like I was doing good. And that led up to this past Saturday where, yeah, I think I probably ended up breaking the motor a little bit. And so this week, after experiencing, Saturday just feeling like shit, Sunday actually I felt terrible as well. Then on Monday I was supposed to train, and coming off of 2 rest days, I thought, okay, Monday I should be able to train again with no problems. Monday I felt absolutely like garbage as well. So I took Monday off. And I knew on Monday, I was like, okay, I need to basically tone things down a little bit. So I made some revisions in my training to tone that volume down, get the quality up, and just make sure that the volume I'm doing is of quality and I'm not trying to step on the gas too hard. And I'm making sure that I'm driving the car. I'd rather drive down the highway, RPMs at 2,500 versus 3,500. I want to be able to I'd rather keep volume steady and maybe just see small increments, very slowly versus trying to rush that volume, if that makes sense. Just so I can perform well, I could recover well, and I could keep my exercise form where it needs to be, and I could keep my performance where it needs to be in the weight room. So that's kind of what I've just learned this past over the past 8 weeks, just looking at my own personal data and looking at the amount of volume that I've done, and based on how I was feeling this past weekend where I just hit a brick wall. And I look at the other factors, like my sleep has been in order. I've been getting good sleep. My calories were increased by 350. So even with those things kind of being where they should be, still everything kind of hit me. And I look at my life stressors too. this past week, and it really hasn't been there. Like, life has been awesome. Like, work has been awesome. Family's been awesome. So there hasn't been really any crazy stressors outside of the gym that could explain why all of a sudden I just felt like shit. I even thought maybe for a split second I was coming down with the cold on Saturday, but that wasn't the case. I'm not sick. So just, when I look at all the factors, I look at the volume that I've racked up over the past 8 weeks, then it just kind of points in that direction. Like, okay, I'm just doing far too much. It finally caught up with me. And now I need to, moving forward, I need to really kind of just make sure that my volume is, 40,000 to 50,000. If I could keep it there and just, steadily just keep going like that, I'm going to continue to perform well. I'm going to continue to recover well, and I'm not going to rack up too many aches and pains and injuries. And I'm going to continue just really slowly but surely improving my physique over time. So whether I want to use the car analogy or I want to use my penny analogy, it all boils down to like, okay, just depositing little deposits, 1 penny at a time. Those pennies add up over time. So at the end of this contest prep, I should have a pretty damn good cash out at the very end. That's kind of how this past week went. But yeah, just as far as the prep is going, it's going this month. It's more like a cruise month as far as the fat loss is concerned. Just kind of maintaining my weight. In January we dive right back in. I'm definitely going to enjoy the holidays with my family. I'll probably enjoy a little bit of food around the holidays. But January rolls around, then it's go time, and I actually put my official entry to the Minnesota Muscle Mayhem, which that show is starting to really grow in recognition, and the quality of that show is pretty phenomenal. So my friend and inspiration, Marshall Johnson, who won it this year, he's definitely saying that this show is definitely one to not miss. So got my entry in there. So yeah, I'm ready to push towards that and, bring my best ever physique. But until next week, guys, have a great week. Train hard, but not too hard. Remember, keep your quality as a priority, and we will talk soon. There you go. Now look that way. Oh, boom. Where's the most muscular? Oh! Shredded.